Well, hello there, and welcome back to Tropics Talk. Gulf Coast meteorologist Jim Dickey back with you. Happy Friday. As we look across the Atlantic, things have calmed down at least a little bit. Dexter off the board, now a non-tropical low swirling in the North Atlantic, and the development chances have come down with the two areas we've been watching for you all week. The low east of the Carolinas and the low that's in the central Atlantic right now, down to 10% and 50% chance of development for the 8 o'clock update, 8 a.m. update from the Hurricane Center this morning. Let's begin with Dexter, now a non-tropical low, more of a nor'easter type system. But that being said, powerful little low pressure area. This is likely producing winds stronger than it ever did as a tropical storm, even as it's made that non-tropical transition. You can see the clear cold front to the south of it. Warm front actually has the look of an occluded low now. This will be weakening. It has peaked in intensity, will fall apart as it drifts to the north and east, continues to pull away from Atlantic Canada, and should fall apart before bringing any big impacts to Europe. Going back to the tropical side of things, we'll be watching a low that's centered right about here to the south and east of South Carolina as it drifts north and eastward over the warm waters of the Gulf Stream. Low chance of development. The models have really backed off with this one. 10% chance now from the National Hurricane Center. It's going to stay well offshore of the Carolinas regardless. So some sneaky development possible this weekend. Nothing of consequence from that one. And then, Central Atlantic. Your eyes might be drawn to the activity going on near Africa, the heavy storms there, but no, it's this right here. You can see a little bit of a turning of the winds with this. You're not seeing as much thunderstorm activity with that we call tropical wave, basically a stretched out area of low pressure. Yeah, it's weak, it's disorganized. It's why the Hurricane Center has dropped the 2-day development chances back down to 0%. It's why they've dropped the 7-day down to 50%. There's not quite the same signal in the models for development with this now, but it's still something to watch as it turns northward and likely heads due north. And I think that's the key with this too. You know, going back a week, 10 days ago, this will be a theme we talk about in just a moment. There were models showing this perhaps hitting the east coast of the United States. Now, this will stay well out over the open Atlantic. No issues from this as it turns to the north, stays well to the east of Florida and the U.S., the Bahamas, the Caribbean, even stays east of Bermuda in all likelihood now at this point. All as the area of high pressure steering this. It's fairly weak, centered to the north and east. It's that Bermuda Azores high. We watch it closely as we get into the peak of hurricane season because it is perhaps the number one steering factor with these waves that come off of Africa. If it's a little weaker, closer to the Azores, to the north and east, it allows storms to turn more into the central Atlantic. A little stronger, closer to Bermuda, keeps storms on a more due westerly course, westerly path. Take a look. This is by Sunday. Can actually see that little low east of the Carolinas, watching there. Not seeing any reflection. This is the GFS forecast model, by the way, of that disturbance in the central Atlantic. But the high is off in the North Atlantic right now, centered in that deeper blue. These are surface pressures. There's your high. Fairly far north, allowing that storm to turn north towards it. If anything, building further to the north and east. So there's the reflection on the model of that storm system in the central Atlantic. I want to note, though, as we go into next week, that high sort of builds back around it, dives a little further southward, and as it does, there's a reflection of a new low forming from the latest tropical wave to move off of Africa. I think with that high being a little stronger, it will stay on more of a westerly course. Certainly not set in stone, but I think bottom line, this is one to watch. As this complex moves off the coast of Africa this weekend, it will likely stay on more of that due westerly course, and the models are really starting to sniff this out. So this is the ensemble, the European forecast model. Remember, the ensemble takes the parent model, tweaks it a number of different ways, runs those variants out concurrently, and in doing so, you can get an idea of the probability of any given outcome. This one is looking for the probability of an area of low pressure that's producing tropical storm force winds. And there's a decent probability here, about 40% of those member models are showing a tropical storm or something of that strength northeast of the Caribbean by the time we get to next weekend. So 2 weekends out from now, 7 to 10 days out from now. Some members show something as far west as the Bahamas at this point in time, some further back, some of the central Atlantic. So still, of course, something this far out, you have lots of variation. And I think that's the key. Remember, as we get into peak hurricane season, the models are prone to spin up hurricanes in the longer range. And just bottom line, you don't want to be getting too worried about what any model says after day 7, really, certainly by day 10 and further into the future. And we'll go into this briefly because I know you're going to be seeing chatter about this on social media over the weekend. So this is the latest run of the GFS forecast model. It shows fairly strong storm system 2 Tuesdays out from now. That would be Tuesday, August 19th, off to the east of the Bahamas. But note, you go back to the 12Z run, so 2 runs ago of that model, very different scenario. It has something way to the north and east. Let's switch over to the European. Similar variation on that model. This is the latest run, showing something way out in the central Atlantic. This was the run from yesterday afternoon, showing something much closer to the United States, too close for comfort. But bottom line, we're way far out into time, and models have to make a whole lot of assumptions to get to this point. You have to expect everything to be right and lined up for it to be anywhere close to what's going to actually happen, and that's just too much to ask from the models at this point. So, again, nothing to worry about just yet, just something to keep an eye on, and all signs that peak hurricane season is approaching. Yes, in the next 2 weeks, history tells us to expect activity to ramp up in the Atlantic. We're here. This is historic activity. You see the uptick as we work our way into September. So, over the next couple of weeks, you're going to be seeing some scary things on models for sure. Not all of it will play out. Very little of it will play out, but it's all a sign that you got to start to pay closer attention to the tropics here. Of course, this one next week, we'll be watching it. We'll keep you updated on it, so be sure you're sticking with Gulf Coast weather for the latest. Until next time, I'm meteorologist Jim Dickey. Have a great weekend.